Hi, it's Carol with the Divine Balance Counseling Services, and I hope you're well. Today, I want to um, do another part of anger management. In this part, we're going to dig a little bit deeper as to what the causes of our anger might be. I have my anger management read here, so I'll be reading from that and talking a little bit on it as I read from it. And hopefully, this will give you an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and be able to answer the question of where does this anger even come from. A lot of us can admit and identify that we do have anger issues, but until we know what the core of it is and where it comes from, then we won't be able to manage it as well. We can continue to practice the correct response, but the anger is still going to keep raging up inside of us. So until we do a little bit of deeper work, and hopefully this on top of some other anger management that you're doing, and maybe even working with a counselor, will help you to reduce that rage that you get inside of you. I know there was a time when the rage was so bad inside of me, and I could just feel it to the tips of my fingers. And now today, I can't even remember the last time that I actually felt a spout of rage. And that's a lot of work. And I mean, like a few years worth of work. So, but don't be discouraged. It's a journey. We're all on a journey and it all takes time. And as long as we're working on ourselves, we can always say that we're moving forward instead of moving backwards. Okay, so speaking of the feelings of anger, it's really important to be able to identify the physiological part of anger in our bodies. So we want to be able to locate the anger, the physical feeling of it inside of our body. So for me, when I get angry, I feel it in my stomach, I clench my fists. I don't see red. A lot of people say they see red. My heart starts to beat really, really fast. For some people, they feel tingling. For some people, their whole body heats up. Everybody has a different way of responding when they get angry as far as how they feel physiologically. So it's important to be able to identify. And one of the tips that I can give you is that when you feel that feeling, when you know that feeling that you're feeling inside of your body gets triggered by whatever the event, you have about 15 seconds to respond. You have about 15, 16 seconds to decide how you're going to respond. So I can identify the feeling and say, okay, I don't want to get in trouble right now. I don't want to hurt anybody right now. Let me just take a deep breath and walk away. Or I could not have any plan at all in place, and I can just react the way that I always have, which may end up in yelling or screaming or hurting somebody's feelings, picking something up and throwing it, even physically hurting somebody. So you have about 15 seconds to decide if you want to respond in a safe, healthy way, or if you just don't want to make that decision at all, and things can end up really bad. When I worked out at the prison, a lot of the guys that were locked up out there, it was due to anger, just the inability to control anger. And remember, anger is fear-based. So it was just the inability to identify our fears, the fear of getting hurt, the fear of somebody hurting us, which leads us into one of these tips here, which is exploring what's really behind your anger. So some people grow up with parents that are fighting all the time. They grow up around people that are angry all the time. So it's just what we've learned. It's just what we know, and it becomes a part of our culture and our natural way to respond. So also, society says that if we do not react in anger and we don't have revenge, or we don't show somebody that I'm bigger, stronger, better than you, then that's a sign of weakness. And really, the true sign of weakness is the inability to maintain yourself and stay out of trouble and not hurt anybody. So we are actually weak when we're hurting people. So it's a little bit upside down, and it may be some belief systems that need to be challenged, society way of thinking that needs to be challenged, and even our own culture and the way that we're raised and the way that our family members are. So we may have family members that think that, you're a wimp or you're sissy and feelings and stuff like that. But bottom line is, what kind of person do you want to be? Um, what kind of person do you want others to see you as? So here also it says anger is often a cover up for other feelings. In order to get your needs met and express your anger in inappropriate ways, you need to be in touch with what you are really feeling. So, are you truly angry, or is your anger masking other feelings such as embarrassment, insecurity, hurt, shame, vulnerability? So it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to be embarrassed. That's a part of humility. And it's okay if we feel some insecurity, to say, what, I feel insecure right now. And I'm going to get myself into a place where I feel safe. We all can experience some shame and some hurt, and those can be really vulnerable feelings to have. But it's okay to say that this is how I feel right now, and I need to get myself into a position where I'm not experiencing this anymore, whatever is causing these feelings. Okay. If your knee jerk response in many situations is anger, it is very likely that your temper is covering up your true feelings and needs. So, this is especially likely if you grew up in a family where expressing feelings was strongly discouraged. As an adult, you may have a hard time acknowledging feelings other than anger. So, there are a lot of families where you weren't allowed to feel. Maybe you were not acknowledged. Maybe you were told to suck it up and be tough and push through it. And, that can really just cause a lot of frustration and a lot of underlying feelings that have never been expressed or identified. So, here are some clues that there's something more to your anger. The bullet point says you have a hard time compromising. Is it hard for you to understand other people's points of view, and even harder to concede your point? If you grew up in a family where anger was out of control, you may remember how the angry person got his or her way by being the loudest and the most demanding. Compromising might bring up scary feelings of failure and vulnerability. So if you have a hard time compromising with somebody, it might be because you have the fear that they are going to respond in anger, or they're going to respond being loud or demanding, and then that might bring up some stuff from the way that you have been raised. So also, you might have a hard time dealing with people that are loud and demanding, because it brings up a lot of that stuff again. So the other bullet point here says you have trouble expressing emotions other than anger. So do you pride yourself on being tough and in control, never letting your guard down? Do you feel that emotions like fear, guilt, or shame don't apply to you? Everyone has those emotions, and if you think you don't, you may be using anger to cover them up. So, again, I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon on fear. And so, if you know, you're not too sure if that might be something that's one of your underlying feelings, hopefully the future videos will help you kind of sort things out a little bit. So a lot of times, again, we're raised in a society, and also we have a lot of family members, and some of you watching this video might even go against this belief system, but there's a lot of belief systems that we don't show fear, we don't show shame. Hold on one second. Sorry. We don't show fear. We don't show shame. We don't show embarrassment. It's really hard for somebody to just say like, wow, got really embarrassed right now. That really embarrassed me. Instead of just responding in anger, like, leave me alone, or why did you do that? I'm going to get back. I'm going to get you back for that. Um, it's hard for people to say like that was really scary for me, or this is really hard for me. um, Even like for me, doing videos and putting myself out there like this is fearful for me, and it paralyzes me a little bit, so it's hard for me to move forward and continue to do this. But I look at the bigger goal here, and my goal is that I just want to help people. I have a lot of information I want to share, and if I can just help a couple people, to me, it's worth it. And so I'm willing to walk through my fear to do that. And I can very comfortably say that it's scary, and I have fear behind it. I and So yeah, it's okay to express those feelings. There may be people around us and family members that, they're not so receiving of us sharing our feelings. So, but that's okay. We don't have to share it with them. The main thing is that we're honest with ourselves, that we're true to ourselves, because we don't owe anybody an explanation. Um, so another thing might be, do you view different opinions and viewpoints as a personal challenge to you? Do you believe that your way is always right and you get angry when others disagree? This is kind of like personal territory for me. So this is something that I've struggled with, and I even sometimes struggle with it still, but it's probably like a controlling thing or something. But the part where it says, do you believe your way is always the right way? So I have to understand, we have to understand that really everybody's way is the right way. And it's just everybody has different ways. I know for me, I'm a little bit more passionate about um, wanting things to be easy for people and wanting things to be nice for people, and things wouldn't be so hard for people if they would just do it my way. But that's not always true. Sometimes people doing things their own way is easier for them than doing it somebody else's way. It's not even really the way at all. So but I don't get mad anymore if people don't want to do things my way, especially with my kids. I try to let them do things their way, as long as they're doing what needs to be done, of course. Um, but letting them be who they are and not getting so angry when I don't get a response. Um, so if you have a strong need to be in control, or if you have a fragile ego, you may interpret other perspectives as a challenge to your authority rather than simply a different way of looking at things. And really, that's the bottom line. We have to understand that most people are not challenging us. Most of the stuff that people do has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their own way of thinking, their own belief system, um, and that it really just has nothing to do with us. And we just need a different way of looking at things. And usually those people do too. So if we can just learn to view things differently, or try to view things the way somebody else is, we won't feel so attacked. And then we can be more open minded and communicate better. And that can definitely avoid confrontation. All right, so here's some dynamics of anger. This is good stuff right here. So we become more angry when we are stressed and our body resources are down. So we definitely want to make sure we're eating right and exercising when we can. But sleep, I think that's one of the number one things for me, is that if I don't get enough sleep, or I'm really tired, I'm more frustrated. And then I feel like I have more tendencies to be angry and grumpy and stuff like that. So definitely self-care is huge. It's very important. Um, One thing that's really kind of neat here, that you might want to think about is we are rarely ever angry for the reason we think we're angry. So usually I'm not mad because the car almost ran me off the road. I'm mad because I was in fear for my life and I was in fear for my children or whatever, or like we were just talking about before, not getting our way. So I'm not mad at the person for saying what they said. I'm more upset because I feel like I'm losing control and things aren't being done my way. So yeah, it's just a little something that we could analyze. Like, am I really mad for this reason? Or am I mad because there's fear behind it, or the feelings of lost control, or because that's all I know how to do and how to react to situations I don't understand? Am I angry because I'm feeling ashamed or embarrassed about something? Um, Most of the time, anger does not come out of the specific situation at hand. um what else do we have here? Okay, so we are often angry when we didn't get what we needed as a child. So um I know a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of families over the last 10 years, and some people, they come from some rough places, and there's a lot of people and youth that are not given what they needed as a child. That doesn't mean like a bike and nice clothes and things like that. That would be like the sense of security. Both parents, for one, and parents that didn't argue, but parents that, um, provided a sense of security, parents that provided a continual education every day of values and morals and principles, and, parents that were present to just pour into the lives and the spirits of these children, now youth and adults. So, for me, my dad wasn't present. Um, I am a overcomer, a survivor of child molestation. So yeah, so I definitely didn't have a whole lot of what I needed as a child, and hence a lot of years of anger. So I can say that um, even when I became a counselor, I still struggled with anger. But over the last 5, 6 years, I can say that it's definitely gotten a lot better. No outbursts of anger. We often become angry when we see a trait in others that we can't stand in ourselves. So if you've been around a few programs, you'll hear that. If you see something in somebody that you don't like, it's probably because it's something about yourself. And then if that is true and you find that, just work on that and try to change that about yourself, or maybe even not change it, but accept it. I know that's one thing that I've been coming full circle with lately, is just accepting myself for who I am and the way that I am. And I know ultimately I'm kind, I'm caring, I'm compassionate. I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to help people. I love people. I want to do and have good things in life. And so, all my little character defects and all my little imperfections and my mess ups, they're okay as long as I make them right. So, um, if we find a trait in ourselves that we don't like, instead of fighting it, avoiding it, being dishonest about it, own it. You are who you are, and that's okay. You're created by God the way that He created you to be, and love that about yourself. And once you can love those traits in yourself, then you won't see bad traits in other people. So it goes both ways. So, underneath many current angers are old disappointments, traumas, and triggers. So, definitely triggers are a big thing. Um, there are certain things that can just trigger us to be mad, and it can be things that come from the past. Maybe we had a family member that always said they would show up and then they never did. And so now today, when somebody doesn't show up, it really makes me mad. And that's because it triggers things from my past. Um, old traumas and old disappointments too. So we definitely want to recognize what are our triggers, what specific things actually trigger our anger. And then once we understand what our triggers are, we can pay more attention to them and we can kind of sort it out. Is it childhood stuff? Well, maybe we need to get with a counselor, or maybe we need to do some ongoing anger management and work through those triggers to a point to where they don't trigger us anymore. It's a lot of work. It takes time, but if we are hurting people and we're uncomfortable with the way that we treat people, and maybe we have some relationships that are in jeopardy and we need to make some changes, then it's definitely worth the work. It's absolutely definitely worth the work. So again, sometimes we get angry because we were hurt as a child. Again, that can require some ongoing counseling, anger management groups, so on and so forth. There's so many resources out there. There's so many things out there that can help us, even all the videos on YouTube. But we have to definitely do the work. We get angry when a current event brings up an old unresolved situation from the past. So that's resentment. So I could do a whole video just on resentments. So, and those of you that are familiar with program, we know that resentments are like the number one killer. So if you're holding resentments towards anybody, let it go. Just let it go. It's not worth it. Um, what I'll do is I will look into doing a video on resentments, because we can go on and on about that. But if there's any resentments that come to mind right now, really just try to consider forgiveness and letting it go and not holding on to it, because the only thing it's doing is hurting you. So, and then the final one that we have here is we often feel strong emotion when a situation has a similar content, words, or energy that we've felt before. So, this is another reason why it's really important to get clear and clear ourselves on our past hurts, and really just accept our past the way it is, be okay with it. Don't be revengeful. Don't be resentful. Know that our past has happened for a reason, because it makes us who we are today. So it's really important that we start to move forward and live in the present and the future. And if we're going to do anything with our past, it's got to be just to learn from it, grow from it, and help other people. Otherwise, if we use it for any other reason, it's just going to be all bad. So again, I'm Carol with the Divine Balance Counseling Services. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I hope it's helpful for you or somebody that you may know. If you have any comments or suggested topics, you can leave it in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.